I actually quite like some of the stuff that Hummel have done, but if you look at all the kits that we're now showing you, it's too close for me.
What's wrong with a bit of imagination? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are yet again looking at shirts that have been inspired by shirts from the past, or have they? Is it just a straightforward copycat bring back? We've got a few shirts in front of us here, from originals from back in the day to a modern interpretation to something which, unless you're an expert, you'd probably struggle to tell whether it is an old one or a new one. Craig, what are you thinking in terms of our designers these days being too reliant on the work that's been done in the past, so effectively they're phoning it in?
Well, my first thing would be, Rob, I don't think there's anything wrong with looking into the past. In fact, I'd welcome it. I think provenance is a really important thing as a designer, but I think when you sail too close to the wind, you're going to come into a bit of a sticky wicket, if you like. So with regards to Hummel, I actually quite like some of the stuff that Hummel have done, but if you look at all the kits that we're now showing you, it's too close for me. Here we've got the Danish one where they won in 92, I believe it was. Right. And it's just too close. The original one had a collar. It didn't quite have the jacquard or it's a jacquard on the front of the shirt. And I think if you look, it was slightly different, but it is so close, man. Yeah. And I'd probably forgive them if it was just this one kit, but it's not. And as you can see, they've done it for loads of different teams. I mean, if you look at the Southampton kit, not only have they basically mimicked the exact same kit, but they've even brought back the old sponsor. So I think for me, they need to get a big gulp of design inspiration that's going to be for the future. So not a big fan of that. And I would say to you guys out there that are doing all of your designs and your concept designs, just think about the future as well as the past as well. Juve is a great example. Are you sitting in your bedroom designing football kits that aren't going anywhere? Well, get on board. Learn from two veterans of the game and we'll get that work in front of some of the biggest, most influential creative directors out there. Come on guys, get signed up. Let's disrupt that industry. Come on, we can do it. So going on to this one, which is the PSG one, which I was very fortunate enough to be able to have designed one back in the day. This one was...
It's got pen on it. I can get that out for you if you want to watch.
I'd maybe leave that one on. It might devalue it if you get rid of that one. But what I would say is this is where I think it has moved on ever so slightly. I think what they've done here is they've taken a little bit of inspiration. I wouldn't even say it's inspiration. I think they've just had a look at a kit from back in the day. They've brought it up into, you know, the technologies that we've got today. There's a nice gradient print going through. They've got the double stripe going down either side. So yes, it pays homage to that, but it is a modern interpretation of that. So if I was a young kid and I'm looking at that, I'd understand where it comes from, but for me, that's where they've just taken it on ever so slightly.
Even the subtle bits like changing the colour of the swoosh, but then at the same time that they've updated it, having the two white stripes is actually more traditional than this, because this was quite innovative and a departure from the Daniel Hector, who was the founder of PSG and a fashion designer himself. So, you know, inspired by what the Daniel Hector hallmark stripe was. So they've kind of gone even further back into the past to then create something that feels really modern. Yeah. So it's bringing different elements together, and I think I could forgive the Hummel, or not forgive, but appreciate the Hummel one more if they'd done something that, even if visually it was the same, but the way it was constructed was different. You know, if they'd built it in a different way rather than it's just another printed shirt. Yeah. And yes, we've changed some of the proportions of the stripe lengths and whatever, but I mean, you're talking about proper, you know, nerd territory to be able to spot that and recognise that level of difference. Yeah,
so, I mean, for me, it's still a great shirt, kit, but I just think this is where, you know, as we're trying to encourage the next round of designers who are going to go out there and take the football world on by storm. For me personally, I think you've got to push the envelope a little bit more. It's got to be taken a little bit further, and you've got to take inspiration, you know, from previous kits, but you've got to, in my mind, you've got to take it to another level. And I think the Hummel stuff is just sailed a little bit too close.
I think if a musician does a cover version and it's exactly the same as the original, there's no point.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so it's exactly that. And I want to see something a bit different.
A little bit different, yeah.
Totally.
So, do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? The one thing that we can say is if you are into your football kit designs, get yourself signed up to Spark Design Academy. We will teach you the 7 steps of how to create great looking football kits. The bottom line is we've got courses that will help you get ahead of the rest of the pack, if you like.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate you taking the time out to watch this video. We would love to see in the comments, do you agree with us? Do you think that some of the new bringbacks are way too close to the original and there's a lack of imagination? Or do you think being as close as possible to the original gives a new generation of fan the opportunity to tap into some of that heritage as well? So we'd love to hear in the comments. Also, if you've got any tips for your favourite cover version, we'd love to hear those as well. Might not listen to all of them, but hey, you never know. If you want more of this in between this and the next video, pop onto our Patreon. Otherwise, we'll see you next time here on the channel.
Brilliant. So if you were going to do a cover version of a song, I'd love to hear what you'd sing.
Me?
Yeah. It's got to be an Oasis track. Or ABBA.
I don't know if I would, because I like the ones that are like Travis did Hit Me Baby One More Time, didn't they? Back in, like, ones that are so different from the original. I always want something that's a bit more off the wall. So I'd be up for a bit of that, I think. I might do a bit of Britney or something.